Desantis has signed 2 new bills.
We've developed a track record in Florida
Of being absolutely corrupt, but carry on.
of supporting law enforcement that is quite simply second to none. We understood how important it is to have safe communities, and the way you do that is to support the people that are putting the uniform on and risking their lives to keep us safe.
The governor signed 2 new bills into law today that he says will support law enforcement officers. But critics say they take away our ability to hold officers accountable. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest joins us now live in studio. And Mike, law enforcement leaders support these new laws.
That's right, Justin. Governor Ron DeSantis here was surrounded by members of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement officials as he signed those bills today. Now, the governor says the new laws will help police and other first responders do their jobs without interference from other citizens. House Bill 601 bans cities and other governments from establishing civilian oversight boards that conduct outside reviews of law enforcement investigations and complaints about officer misconduct. Now, the new law will allow police and sheriffs to appoint civilians, but that's going to be only for the sole purpose of reviewing their agency's policies and procedures. Now, the other law signed by the governor today prohibits anyone from approaching within 25 feet of a police officer, firefighter, or other first responder after being given a warning. Now, violators can be charged with a second-degree misdemeanor, punishable by up to 60 days in jail and a $500 fine.
Thug Life DeSantis back at it, man. I tried to do this video last night, but I was doing too much. How y'all doing today, man? This is a very Florida day in Florida today. South Florida, man. A little perturbed today, man. Cops, man, I'm telling you, bro. I be trying to find different things for my YouTube feed, to change my YouTube algorithm, man, because the thing about YouTube, man, you watch one video and then it'll change your entire feed, man. I mean, there's no variety there. Just one video, all right, this is all we want you to look at, because obviously that's all you want to see. It's ridiculous. That's how I end up seeing so many cop videos, man. And it's frustrating, man, how they behave and how they're allowed to behave. Who's audited them down there in, well, I should say up there in Arizona, man? I mean, I've been watching KHOU or UO 11. We really got to give a lot of credit, man, to these investigative journalists and these local news stations, man. I'm telling you, some of them are doing great work. I think this is my opinion, obviously. I think where the media gets perverted is when it gets to, it gets to the larger levels where they become corporations, you know what I mean? And then obviously it's about the money then, the bottom line, or staying in the green, or however that goes. And it's much less about being voices for the local communities. Or for the world at large. But anyway, with all that said, man, DeSantis has signed 2 new bills into effect. One, limiting civilian oversight. So I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about civilian oversight communities, but it's ironic because I was just thinking about every police department needing a separate but fully informed civilian oversight committees. And I don't know why I'm thinking that. Like, that might be where the thought came from. I'm just subconsciously remembering that these things exist. And then a few days later, which was Friday, Ron DeSantis, who is the most pro-government, this dude thinks we're in Nazi Germany or something down here in Florida, government official that I may have ever run across. But anyway, he signed like that bill. So the bill essentially just says that civilian oversight committees, I guess they could chime in to officer discipline or whatever, man, infractions, whatever. But now they can only, speak to policies and things like that. You know what I mean? Give their input and advice and, opinions about policies. But they can have any involvement in individual officer discipline or things like that. So he signed that bill, and then he signed another bill which resonates more with me, that civilians, citizen journalists, whoever, can't be closer than 25 feet to officers when they're on the scene of any emergency. Or not just officers, but first responders. So we can't be more than 25 feet within those officers reach or their presence or, you know what I mean, they're seen or whatever. So this right here, man, is absolutely ridiculous, baby. I mean, it's going to cause so many problems, man. And there is no answer for the problems of our world, man, but for the righteous to continue to push righteousness and advocate for righteousness, man. For the just to continue to advocate for justice. Bruh, what I can potentially see one main problem this is going to lead to. Police are going to come on scenes. You know how they do with auditors and they'll walk up to you and things like this. This video may be a little longer because I want to get into this. Police will actually come on scenes, and then what they'll end up doing because you have every right to record the police. So what they will do, I'm telling you, we're going to see some cases unless this law gets vetoed and retracted today, where police approach citizens and then the citizens recording for their safety, and the police continue to approach and say you can't do that because of this law here in Florida. I don't even know how this got passed. I don't know how this is going to stand on the books. I don't know a lot about how the government operates. I'm more of a logical person, and logically, you know, that was some of the proponents of the not the proponents, the opponents of the bills that he passed. They were like, hey, you're trying to limit our rights as American citizens. This law, especially the one about, you know, how close we can stand to police, it seems to be a constitutional violation to me. I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some noise about this. It just happened yesterday, so not a lot of people are talking about it yet, but I think this will be a viral conversation. How are you going to tell me where to stand, sir? Ma'am? And like I say, just let me deal logically with it, guys. I'm not the police. I'm not the cop watcher who I be in their faces. I pull up on scenes every time I see them and stuff and just try to provoke them. I don't go to publicly accessible places with and I'm not knocking the auditors and cop watchers who do this. I'm just saying it's not my style. I don't go to publicly accessible places and record private citizens, even though they're in public, and I know we have a right to. I'm not saying it's wrong to provoke them and you know, even to educate them. I don't do that, you know what I mean? Because I don't want, if I want to educate somebody, I just walk up to them and have a conversation with them. I'm not going to do something to try to provoke them and then act like they're wrong when they get provoked. You know what I mean? They don't know. I think there's a better form of education, and yes, I am taking a few shots at the auditing community, but not in a high-minded sense. But the reason I don't do that, guys, is because I'm easily provoked, right? And respect is a big thing for me. So I don't do that to cops either. And there's another layer of reasoning there. And it's because I know the authority that they have. I know their presumed authority, and I know how they yield both, right? And what I'm trying to say is this right here. I see a lot of auditors, man, far too many for my comfort level, in situations with these cops, like I say, where the cops walk up on them, walk up like literally in there. You can't get more disrespectful or intrusive. And then the cops turn the situation on them. And then they end up touching them, pushing them, you know, whatever, bro. And I'm not big and bad and tough. I'm none of that. I'm no superhero. I'm no Marvel character, man. But cop or everyday layperson, bro. I'm not going to disrespect you physically or otherwise unless I intend to and I invite where that could go. And I'm not going to just sit around while you do it to me. So what I'm trying to say is the reason I don't try to provoke cops, and I have another method, is because once they try to overuse the authority that they do have or their presumed authority, there's no telling how it's going to end up for me or them. Because once again, I'm not just going to let somebody disrespect me or violate me or assault me or batter me. Why should I? You know what I mean? I don't want to get wet, so I don't go in the rain. But like I say, this bill, this particular one, I'm not okay with the civilian oversight bill either. But this one hits more home for me because I do police. Hell, last night I did a video. I may just put a little bit of it in here, guys. Georgia boy, I'm riding to the crib. I'm riding home. See like 3 cop cars. I'm gonna keep it real in my spirit. Okay, they pulling on now. In my spirit, I felt like something was wrong. There was cops lights. But then I said, I don't know, I might be tripping. But then I ride by and it looked like it's 2 young kids out here on bikes. They got them stopped. But now that I'm going over, so I whip back around and, you know, I got to hide the car. But now that I come back, they look like they're gone. Okay, they're gone. As soon as I come out of the car, they're gone. Okay. We finna get us some cop watching in tonight, baby. Yes, we were. To get us some cop watching in tonight, we was finna hold them accountable. It looked like they had 2, and I don't know this, but it looked like they had 2 underage kids out here. They was right there. They was right here. It was 3 cop cars, 2 young kids. Literally, like, I wish I'd have had the camera already pointing over here, because while I was walking over here talking to y'all, we're talking to the camera, and then I got, like, I was trying to, it's a barber, so you see it's a shopping plaza right here, so obviously I'm not anywhere near home, so I didn't want to come, I don't know how the situation gonna go. I didn't want to come over here and police them, and then when I pull out, they get behind me. So I did my best. That moon is very beautiful. I went over there and I parked, you know what I mean, and because something open, and right here you can't see it. I parked over there, but right here you can't see, it's a barber shop, and you can see those cars right there. It's a line of them. And so I parked over there, and what I did, I just walked over here, hopefully inconspicuously, and by the time, what I'm saying is, I could see them all the way to like right there. And then I'm walking right here because I want to come from that way to make it look like maybe I'm coming from there. So if they start searching the parking lot for, you know, the stupid stuff they do, trying to look for my car so they can identify me, they'll be a little confused because there's a lot of cars right there. So I lost sight of them right there. From right there, they were still right here. It looked like one of them pulled off. I said, okay, well, it's coming down, but I was still coming. Remember, it was 3 of them, hot red lights flashing. And by the time I walked right there, lost a little vantage point and walked from there to this corner right here where I could see them, they were gone. I'm talking about in the span of literal seconds. I promise you, I did a video. This was crazy because the law was signed and I would have been in violation of that law without knowing it. I'm pretty sure, to be honest with you, the cops that I'm about to tell you about didn't know it either. But anyway, long story short, I'm in a particular area of Florida doing what I'm doing. I'm headed home, actually. I'm done. And I see 3 cop cars. They're lit up. You know, they got all 3 of them lit up, and they have someone pulled over. I see this a lot. I just told you guys, I'm not the guy who every time I see cops, I pull over. But this one piqued my interest. So I seen them and I rode past them. They're on my right, so I have to get over. You know that law. You don't want to drive too close to them. And I couldn't see who they pulled over, but by the time I drove by them, I did see it. It was definitely 2 young men, but my best guesstimate is that they were 2 young boys, possibly underage. This definitely ain't no piqued interest now. Antennas all the way up. So now I'm definitely, you know what I mean? And they're on their bikes. The situation is looking very comfortable. I don't want to over exaggerate. That the guys, whether they're young men or young boys, they're on bikes, 2 bikes. And the cops was like just standing there lackadaisically. I'm not saying they're being lazy or anything. I'm just saying like that it seems like they're having a conversation, but I don't know. So I busted a U-turn, a legal one, at a light, and then I go back because I'm about to get out of the car and record, but I have to because we don't know how these situations will play out. I have to hide my car. And, you know, it's a lot of things I have to do. If you know, you know. Long story short, I'm in this whole time, I'm no more than, I can see them the whole time, right? I'm no more than 50 yards from the cop where they're gathered at. I park my car, do my best to hide it. I walk. I'm still less than 50 yards away. I can see them the whole time. And there's one blind spot because I want to walk to a building. It's late at night, but it's Miami, right? So there's still a lot of places open. And I want to walk toward these buildings, this shopping plaza, so I can look like I'm coming out of one of them. So if things go wrong and they start looking for my car and stuff, they'll be a little confused, at least by some of the other vehicles out there. Anyway, one blind spot is about a 5-second blind spot. 3 cop cars, fully lit up, 2 young men or young boys pulled over. I'm just going to Copwatch. It could be wonderful cops. I'm not saying they were rogues or anything. I don't know. I'm going to see. By the time I came out of that 3 to 5 second blind spot, I promise you I can't make this up. All of them are gone. I'm going to put the video in here so y'all can see a little bit. But I'm saying that to say he knows what he's doing. At the press conference where he was announcing this, you can see there are officers there. There are no citizens standing behind them, not the taxpayers who fund these people's personal and professional lives, just cops, the ones that Governor Desantis is there to support. And what they want to do is they want maximum control, right? They want dictatorship, right? And it's going to cause some problems because as free American citizens, we want peace and liberty. That's it. And justice. You know what I mean? So, like I say, man, you never know when these situations are going to occur. I literally had one right while they were passing the bill, right after it, because it was late at night. And you never know how those situations are going to play out and how cops are going to abuse their authority. So with all those things in mind and more things I'm aware of that I'm not even aware of, I am very calculated in my approach to police and policemen. So with all of that said, I'm not necessarily as mad about the 25-foot, bill. I don't know how long it's going to stand. I hope we get some successful opposition to it in the government here in Florida. But because I kind of keep those distances anyway. But it's once again, that's my personal choice as a free citizen, and I advocate for any other free citizen who says, hey man, I want to be closer. Another thing is, we all know, we've seen this before, they're not going to tell people, citizens without cameras that to stay with, 25 feet away from them. That's only for accountability. They only want the people who are able to hold them accountable to stay away. They only want the people who are able to document situations as they actually occur and unfold to stay away, because they always want to be able to manipulate the information and what's going on in public perception. It has me thinking so many thoughts. That's why I was asking you guys who's auditing, who's cop watching, who's holding the police accountable down there in Arizona. I know they have people, but I'm just wondering who. It also has me thinking, man, we really got to teach our kids. I was just watching a well-known video where the cops went to a guy's house to ask him some questions or whatever, and he didn't have their answers. He wasn't interested in any consensual encounters with him, so he went back in his house. Number one, what he should have did is never open his door. But anyway, he did. They ended up arresting him when he tried to disengage, as he had every right to, or attempting to, that is. Well, they did arrest him. They fabricated some charges. But his young son was there, and the entire time, his young son, his son had to be anywhere from 10 to 15, pretty young. I'm thinking 10 to 13. And he was commanding the situation and the officers because his dad and someone in his life had taught him his rights, the way that we know our rights, and maybe even better than some of us. And so much so that the officers got upset with him and then started threatening arrests and saying they were going to make up things to arrest the kid. And all he was doing was there recording them violating his father's rights. And, he was asking the officers for their names and badge numbers. He wanted that information so he could document it, as he has every right to. And those are the type of things we need to teach our kids, guys, because we grew up in a world where police are automatically seen as heroes. From what child do you know? I mean, child. I'm not talking about this young gentleman, 10 to 13 or 15-year-old that I just told you a story about. I'm talking about kid, like toddler. What toddler knows that police can be this rogue, corrupt, dangerous, and violent? They don't. Most toddlers in every generation, man, every culture, every race, man, most toddlers are taught, and we teach them this, to look at police like heroes, somebody you want to be when you grow up, right? That's the ideal we have of police, but that's the problem with America now. We have too many allegiances to the ideas of who we are and who we're supposed to be, versus us having allegiances to actually being practically those things. We have to live that out. There has to be practicality. There's not a lot of practicality to the ideas of ideals of American policing. There's not a lot of practicality to those things from American police. You see all of them mission statements in their departments if you ever go in there. I mean, it won't take you probably 5 minutes in there of trying to hold them respectfully accountable for them to violate damn near 90% of their own mission statement. And I reference Arizona again because they had a chief out there. She was a black lady. It's not a shot at black. I'm black as hell. It's not a shot at African Americans or any black or brown people. It's not a shot at women. They had another officer. The dude had multiple sustained infractions. I don't even want to get into it. Seemed to be a black guy to me. The thing that's going now, Arizona is, I said it like 1,000 times in this video, Arizona is rife with corruption. So they also had white guys up there. I think one of the captains was Asian. All three captains, the chief, everybody involved in the scandal. But what occurred to me watching that video was this right here, man. While these type of people, these type of rogue dictators, these type of violent thugs, while they will weaponize, and America does have an ingrained problem with race and racism. And while these type of people will weaponize that and racism and other opportunities for their dictatorship desires and ambitions, that's not their central goal. And this is the point I want to end this video with, guys. You might swear allegiance to these people. I'm not going to, like anybody. For me, I look at it like this. If you're a pro-cop, And I'm not talking about just pro people, adults who are taking jobs and engaging in careers to provide for their families and live responsibly. I ain't got no problem with that. That's why I encounter and engage cops on an individual basis. I don't like the institution of policing. It has an American history of proving it can't be trusted. But if you are pro-cop, once again, not pro-people just trying to provide for their families and live responsibly, but pro-cop, we know what that means in America. If you wearing that back the blue line thug, badge in any form of that they wear, if you're signing laws to be able to increase their ability to be road cops, if you're doing anything in that regard, I look at you suspiciously. If you support people who do anything in that regard, if you friends with people who advocate and do things in that regard, or if you are friends with people who are friends with people who advocate and do things in that regard, listen, you drew the line in the sand. I'm just staying on my side of it. I look at you suspiciously. And what you're not realizing is what I was communicating. You think the reason that you support and advocate for them because they stand against your personal biases. I'm sorry, I meant they actually champion your personal biases. That you have the same personal biases. That's your common ground. And for whatever reason, for you, that's enough for you to look past their treachery, you and your affiliates. I'm good. So you don't like this or that or this person or that person, and these people stand against them, so therefore you cool with the cops because they stand against the people you don't like. What you don't realize is these people, their bigotry, their violence, their dictatorship desires and ambitions, it has no end. Okay, today it swallows me. Tomorrow it swallows my neighbor. Eventually it swallows you. I want to say that again. I'm not trying to be high-minded or super preachy here, but eventually it will swallow you. But because you swear allegiance to these people, I guarantee you the only thing they have allegiance to is their immorality. That's the only thing they have allegiance to. Their immoral ambitions. And eventually, if you don't stand against them just because they're over there swallowing other people, eventually they will swallow you too. That's why it's important for us to continue to raise awareness about these cops. That's why it's important for us to get informed, which I am doing. I'm trying to myself, personal accountability here, and be able to speak practically to these bills and laws that these rogue politicians like Ron Desantis are signing into effect. They're impacting our lives. They're enabling cops to literally go out here and murder us, arrest us. They had one story down there in Arizona where a young lady spent 2 years in prison because the road cop accused her of some drug crimes, and he had a documented history of lying. She eventually got out, won the lawsuit, etc., etc. What do you think they did to the road cop? Can you give her anything she lost in those 2 years when she was away from her freedom, her liberty, and her loved ones? Like I say, don't be that person who refuses to acknowledge this needs to be protested against because it's swallowing everyone but you. Because when you take that tactic, eventually you will be swallowed too. We got to raise awareness. Don't be me, be you. I don't know how you do that. We got to raise awareness. We got to talk about these road cops. We got to teach our kids and families about them. We got to know our rights in our local communities. And we got to pay attention to what's going on in the way that God puts that upon our hearts. But we do have to and need to be involved, man. Y'all be safe. These damn crooked politicians in the American government. And obviously that, when it comes to the system, does include them all. But when it comes to individuals, doesn't include them all. They're not going to stop trying to dictate to us life and liberty. And over here, man, we're not going to stop telling them we'll never go for it. If American government won't police themselves, we will. I'm out. I'm riding to the crib. I'm riding home. See like 3 cop cars.
Now, last night, when there were no cameras present, the governor signed several other bills into law. One of them prohibits local governments from mandating heat protection and water breaks for any employees who work outside. Justin?
All right, Mike DeForest, thank you for that.
Miami never sleeps, but I'm going to right now.